Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Secretary Blinken, for appearing before us again. It's very important. You went to Kyiv both to meet with President Zelensky and, importantly, to demonstrate our support for the people of Ukraine. It's now been 2 months since the war on Ukraine began, and with our help, they're fighting with heart, with conviction, with some success. And with our help, we can win this thing, but it needs a lot more help. I'm glad we are returning the U.S. Embassy to Kyiv. I'm pleased the administration just appointed a Ukraine Security Assistant Coordinator. As you know, some of us had called for that. We continue to be concerned about some of the red tape that's involved in some of the military transfers, so this should help quite a bit. We must continue to address Russia's barbaric actions with speed, with urgency, and with confidence that the right weapons can contribute to a victory. The Kremlin must know that the free world stands united against them. I'm also pleased the administration has finally nominated a U.S. ambassador to Ukraine. As you know, I believe this is long overdue, and I look forward to Bridget Brink's testimony before this committee as soon as possible. I want to talk to the chairman about that. Energy revenues continues to be the main source of income fueling Russia's war machine. As you know, energy is their top export. In fact, receipts from energy alone accounts for about 40 to 50% of the Russian budget. We've got to cut off this funding if we want to stop the increasing war effort from Russia. I was pleased that the administration banned the import of Russian oil, natural gas, and coal in the United States in early February, but that was only about 8% of our total petroleum imports. Other countries import a lot more. The larger issue at hand, of course, is the EU and their reliance on Russian energy. Approximately 40% of EU gas comes from Russia, as well as more than a quarter of its oil. This means, Mr. Secretary, Europe is continuing to spend Russia roughly $870 million a day, $870 million a day in energy revenues compared to about $50 million a day the U.S. was purchasing on a daily basis. Again, money used to fuel the Putin war machine. Last month, I was pleased with the announcement of the joint task force with the EU on energy security for better coordination. It's now been exactly a month since this task force was established. Can you please provide us today with an update on the efforts and progress as it relates to reducing European reliance on Russian energy, and when can we expect a plan detailing the objectives of the task force and a strategy to achieve them?
Senator, thank you very much. Can I first just start by applauding your leadership on Ukraine, both as head of the caucus here, but also just your continuous engagement going back from Munich Security Conference and well before that. It's greatly appreciated. It's made a real difference. With regard to energy, you're right. This is one of the critical areas where we have to continue to move forward, and we are and we will. The big challenge is, of course, European dependence on Russian energy that's built up over decades, particularly natural gas, but also oil. And let me say a couple of things very quickly. First, the Europeans have, I think, genuinely ambitious plans to move away from this reliance on Russian energy. The challenge is to put them into effect, and the other challenge is that in some cases this is not, no pun intended, like flipping a light switch. It is a process, and that's what we're working with them on implementing. So a few things to that end. First, I think you are likely to see in the coming weeks further progress on the oil side of the equation in terms of Russian imports. Gas is a bigger challenge. It's particularly acute for certain countries, including notably Germany, but also others. We have redirected significant amounts of LNG to Europe in the short term to help them compensate for any losses that they might have in moving away from Russian gas. That process is continuing, and we want to make sure that as they do that, there's backfill, and there's significant amounts that's going to that.
Secretary, just two quick questions. One, with regard to the task force, when can we expect a report from the task force, detailing what the objectives are and what the strategy is? And then second, with regard to LNG shipments, you just mentioned that. Actually, this is a central component of the initiative. The U.S. is now saying that we're going to give them 15 billion cubic meters this year, an additional 50 over the next decade. How has the administration, the task force, engaged with energy producers in the United States to follow through on these commitments? Your budget increases taxes on natural gas production. As you know, the administration continues to take steps to discourage new leasing for oil and gas development on public lands and waters. These and other policies that stifle domestic natural gas production are going to make it difficult, it seems to me, to meet our objectives. So how can we keep our EU commitment and reduce this massive flow of funds into Russia?
Senator, I'm not an expert on the domestic policy component of this. I will say a couple of things. First, we've doubled the LNG exports to Europe since last year. Actually, since early this year, they've already doubled. The President has urged domestic producers to speed up production. There are, as you know, thousands of licenses that have gone unused, and hopefully they will be used to increase production. The task force, let me come back to you on when we can anticipate providing a report, but it's focused on diversification. It's focused on curbing demand and making sure that the backfill is there. It's also necessary to focus on an energy transition, because ultimately that's going to be the most effective way over time in making sure that there's genuine energy security.
Secretary, a couple of the
One thing
questions
that you
I
can't
wanted to ask you. Let me just say the obvious, which is that you have a strong interest in these domestic policy issues now, because to stop the Russian war machine getting all this funding, which is your strong interest, I know you're going to have to be a voice for some reason in terms of an all-of-the-above energy strategy, including not stifling fossil fuels at this point, because we need them in terms of natural gas to Europe. On the coordinator, Lieutenant General Terry Wolf has now been appointed. I was glad to see that. As you know, I'm delighted we have somebody to be there as a coordinator. How is the State Department going to coordinate with him, improving the arms transfer process, which is your bailiwick? And does he report to you, the President, or the National Security Advisor?
Terry is someone that I've worked with for a long time. He, as you may remember, was one of the lead coordinators for the counter-ISIL coalition that was established back in 2015. 2016, we worked very closely together. We'll continue to work very closely together in this effort. And he'll be working both with us at the State Department as well as reporting to the White House. But we have a long history of working closely together. Let me say, just repeat very quickly something I said earlier, which is that this process of transferring equipment to the Ukrainians is moving, in my judgment, very effectively and very efficiently. The drawdown authorities that we've used now 8 times, whereas it used to take sometimes weeks to get equipment to the Ukrainians, we're now getting things from the point the decision is made to draw down to getting it into Ukrainian hands in as little as 72 hours. So this is moving quickly. We have cut through a lot of red tape. At the same time, we've been going around the world looking for other countries that may have equipment that Ukraine can find useful. When it's come to authorizing the transfer of that equipment, if it has U.S. origin technology in it, I've done those authorizations in 24 hours or less to make sure, to your point, that we're moving things quickly. But having said all of that, we want to make sure that we continue to drive this as effectively and efficiently as possible. Terry will focus on that. I'll work directly with him. So will the White House.
Who will General Wolf report to? Who will he report to? Question.
Let me come back to you on exactly what the reporting line is. I don't know what the exact reporting line is, but I can tell you that he'll work directly with me as well as with the White House and, of course, the Pentagon.
Thank you, Chairman.